Hello YouTube! Just wanted to show you how to swap out a snare wire in a super easy sort of way. I'm working with the Evans Pure Sound Super 30. This snare wire is awesome for a fat tone. It'll work if you tune everything high and tight, but it works a lot better if you're kind of going low with a longer sound. Okay, so I've already got this snare set. It's tuned, it's good to go. I'm just switching out the snare wire. I'm going from a 42 strand to this 30. Just get a little bit more of a crisp sound to it. So, what I like to do, a couple different ways you could do it. You could use nylon strings, plastic straps, or today I'm using these gross grain ribbons. I like these a lot because they give you a little bit more sensitivity on the snare wire. These are already cut to size for this snare. It might be a little more in depth if you're putting on some new nylon strings or something like that, but I'm just going to show you a pretty simple way to swap it out here. So I'm going to get the ribbon through the snare wire, making sure to keep this centered, and grab at the bottom there, pull it tight. From there, I'm going to put on the throw side first, or at least feed the throw side through first. There you go, kind of get that set. I'm not actually going to tighten this side. I want to make sure that the butt side is set up first and everything's centered. But I do want to just get this in here so it's going to stay put. So just finger tight for now. All right, so that can still move. That can still slide through here if I need it to. We're gonna push this up, make sure it's engaged. Push that, see how on this indie throw it slides? We're gonna push that up and get the proper spacing here. It's really important to have your snare wire in the center of the drum. We don't want it to be too close to either side. We want it to sit right in the middle. That's going to give you the best tone. It's going to give you the best responsiveness and eliminate any weird buzz that you might have. So if you're new to this and new to drum maintenance and tuning stuff, first step, make sure your snare wire is centered. I'll show you that here in just a second. So I've got this fed through here. Going to attach this to the butt side, which is the opposite side from the strainer or throw off, however you want to call it. I think it's weird to say strainer, so I usually say throw. You can say it however you want, it doesn't matter to me. Leave a comment maybe. This butt plate just loosened up and put that through. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Now, you do want to make sure that you're not way off to one side because you're going to see how that changes where your snare wire is. And you want everything to be as centered as possible. So we're going to make sure that this stays right in the center. If you do have two wires coming through, if you have nylon string or something like that, I like to space them out so that they're to the outsides of the butt plate rather than right in the center. It does give a little bit more even tension on the top. Mess around with that because sometimes, you know, you'll have your snare sounding kind of weird and it's really just that on the butt plate this is shifted over, and that's, you know, a very easy fix. All right, so I'm gonna go finger tight on this guy. It's finger tight on the other side, so I should be able to pull and get some tension here and shift where the snare wire is. So let me show you, hopefully you can see this all right on the phone. I can shift this either way. It can go more to your left. It can go more to your right. I really want to make sure that as this is set, we're very centered right in the drum. I also want to make sure that I'm centered on the throw and the butt plate this way too. Like that. So that's looking pretty good here. Top here, it's looking great. Now I'm gonna tighten up the butt plate first. That way this is gonna stay put and I can pull a little more tension on the throw side. It's already engaged. I've loosened this a bit. You don't wanna have this part too tight, whatever throw you're working with. If that's too tight, you're not gonna have any adjustability once you get the snare wire on there. So this is loose, this is engaged. On this snare, or on this throw, this will be disengaged. You can see how that's loose there, but once I engage it, it's set. So now from here, I'm gonna be pulling and I'm doing everything opposite. When the snare's flipped over, we want everything to be up. So as I have it backwards, I have it upside down, we want this to be up, which means that would normally be down as far as it could be, and we want to pull the snare wire that way. So I'm going to pull this whole throw piece up, pulling this gross grain ribbon down at the same time. That gives me a lot of tightness here on the snare wire. If I didn't do that, and this was all the way down, that would be pretty loose. Move it around. So pulling the gross grain ribbon or the nylon strings down, pulling the snare throw up, and then I'm just gonna fold it up. That's gonna kind of lock it into position as I tighten it. That's really it. From there, you can tighten up your snare wire, you can loosen it. If you do it, you know, really, really aggressively, maybe this is too tight and you need to loosen it right here. Maybe it's not tight enough and you need to pull it a little more aggressively. Ideally though, you should have your snares engaged when you flip it over and it's on, and then when you take this off, it should be disengaged. So let me show you here just with a stick. And then engaged. And that might be a little bit loose, but like I said, we started with this loose so we can tighten it up now. Get it to where we need it to be. So hopefully that helps you guys setting up your snare wires. When you're done with it, it really should be centered on the drum and centered within these channels for the snare wire strings. If you're way off on one side, or you know, this kind of has some funky hoops, so don't check it out too much. But if you're way off on one side on triple flange hoops or on die cast hoops, then that's going to be a problem. And also if you're way over to the throw side or you're way over to the butt side, that's going to be a problem too. Your snare wires aren't going to contact properly. So there you have it. Hope it helps.